and welcome back to another video. This is the mid-year book freakout tag. I've seen a bunch of other creators on here on YouTube doing it, and I wanted to give it a go. I'm also going to be doing a little bit of a quick life update. Some really fun things happened. So yeah, in my last video I mentioned I was going to Pride, and that was yesterday, and oh my goodness, my heart is so full of joy and peace. It was the most healing experience. I always thought I would never ever be able to go to Pride, and I went to Pride and it was amazing. I got free mom hugs and I literally bawled my eyes out. I met Jagmeet Singh, which was incredible because that guy is literally amazing. I know we're not supposed to idolize politicians, but he's the best one we've got here in Canada. And overall, it was just such an incredible experience. I got to go with my girlfriend and some of our friends, and it was just truly, truly beautiful. And while we were in Toronto for Pride, I went to the Aesop free queer library, and I picked up a book. It's called In Another Place Not Here, and it's about two Caribbean Canadian women and their lives, and it's queer, and I'm so excited to read it. And then later on in the day, we hit up the Glad Day bookstore, which is the oldest queer bookstore in the in the world, and I got the Gilda Stories and Bluebird, both of which are like queer sapphic books that I have been dying to read. And I definitely need to go back to Glad Day because it was so busy in there. I just kind of got in and got out. And I really want to go back when it's not so busy and I can just kind of like get a coffee and like really browse and like not be overstimulated by all the noise and the people. But yeah, that's a little life update. I have my list of questions here. And the first one is best book you've read so far in 2022. And this was really hard because honestly, I have read some incredible books this year. My Goodreads challenge is 50. I'm at 42 and I'm probably going to hit 100 this year. That's really exciting for me. But out of those 42 books that I've read, only like a handful, less than 10, have been below like 3 stars or below. And there's been a couple DNFs. Some of the, like, my best one is by far My Dearest Darkest by Kayla Cottingham. I am obsessed with that book. I don't know if I've talked about it here on the channel, but I talk about it a lot on my my Bookstagram. It is like literally an incredible book. I read it in one day, if that means anything. Just my dog. But some other really good books that I have read that were truly amazing. Home Field Advantage was the sapphic high school rom-com butch/femme relationship that I've been waiting for. The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School was truly incredible as a survivor of the Catholic system. You're gonna sit on my lap? Okay. I also really, really loved The Lucky List, which I just read recently. I buddy read it with my girlfriend. Again, I've read some really incredible books this year, so it's really hard to pick, but I think definitely for sure My Dearest Darkest. That book just truly blew me away, and I've just been thinking about it ever since. The second question is the best sequel you've read in 2022, like so far in 2022, and I have a horrible confession. I have read no sequels in 2022. That is terrible. I have done nothing but start series and I haven't finished any of them yet. In my defense, like most of the series that I have started either just had their sequels released and I haven't been able to read them yet, or the sequel is not out yet. However, I am currently reading my advanced reader copy of Blade Breaker by Victoria Aveyard, which is the sequel to Realm Breaker, which was about a 4-star read for me last year. It had so much potential. It was really, really good, but it didn't quite hit the mark. So I mean, I'm a Victoria Aveyard stan. I loved Red Queen. That was one of my favorite series. So I'm just really excited. I'm like barely into it. I'm like 7% of the way through according to my Kindle. But I'm just really excited to be back with this group of like ragtag heroes who are up against insurmountable odds. So I am enjoying that one so far. And I haven't started this one yet, but I do have an advanced reader copy of The Oleander Sword by Tasha Suri, which is the sequel to The Jasmine Throne, which was a book that I really, really enjoyed this year. Did I read it this year? Did I read it last year? I can't remember. But I did really enjoy The Jasmine Throne. It was really, really good. It was a bit slow at times, which is why I didn't make it onto my favorite of the year so far, but I did really love it. So I'm really hoping that the sequel just like hits even harder, and I've heard from people who have already read it that's going to be incredible. So I'm just going to put this here as it's going to be one of the best sequels that I've read in 2022 because I don't know, I'm just so excited for it. Question 3 is best new release you've read so far in 2022. And this is such a vague question that has such a scope of answers that I had to kind of narrow it down to the best new release I've read that will have the most impact on its readers. And for me, that's going to have to be The Summer of Bitter and Sweet. I have my ARC and my finished copy, both of which were sent to me by HCC Frenzy. I got to interview the author over on Bookstagram. That was amazing. But this book, in terms of its subject matter, how well it's written, the characters, the real life issues that it focuses on, which include missing and murdered Indigenous women, sexual assault, figuring out your identity, really coming to terms with who you are and loving it and accepting it and just proudly being you. This will have the most impact. This book obviously is not without its flaws. I have that discussed in a review on my Goodreads and my Bookstagram. But overall, this book will have such an impact on you that you should just read it. Just read it. Go read The Summer of Bitter and Sweet. It is really incredible. Question number 4 is, what is a 2022 book release you haven't read yet but really want to get to? And so I've pulled up my Bookstagram with my most anticipated 2022 releases. So I'm just, honestly, I really am excited for all of these. So I'm just going to rattle them off. Melt With You by Jennifer Duggan. It is out now. It's so cute. It sounds amazing. I really need to read it. The Final Strife, Sapphic, African/Arabian inspired fantasy. It sounds amazing. I need it in my hands. I know it's coming out soon. If it's not out already by the time this goes up, I need it. Devon and Chris Plan a Wedding. I love reality TV themed like romances, and that's what this is. I need it. And I've heard nothing but amazing things. The Helheim Princess, Sapphic Valkyries. Need I say more? Youngblood by Sasha Lorenz. I love me some lesbian vampires. I'm like, Carmilla was part of my gay awakening, the web show. So obviously I'm very excited for Youngblood, and also I've been like on a first kill kick. Like I watched it as soon as it came out and it was so good. So like me and vampires right now are like this. Yerba Buena by Nina LaCour. I have only read 2 Nina LaCour books. You Know Me Well and We Are Okay, and I love them both. So I'm really excited to read this one. Wild and Wicked Things and A Cruel and Fated Light, which is the sequel to, what's it called? A Dark and Hollow Star. I hate the cover to A Cruel and Fated Light. It is ugly compared to the first book. However, I am really excited to read the sequel because it gives me very strong Shadowhunter vibes, but if it was very queer and very Canadian. I mean, the Shadowhunter series was kind of queer. There's a lot of queer characters and relationships and stuff, like obviously Malik, like I still ship them and think about them from time to time. But this is like Shadowhunters, but make it like gay on steroids. So I'm very excited to read that sequel. Question number 5 is most anticipated release for the second half of 2022. And I have 2 books for this. The first one is Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail, which is the sequel to Delilah Green Doesn't Care. I'm really excited to get to know more about Astrid as a character. She really intrigued me as a character in Delilah Green Doesn't Care. And I did really enjoy Delilah Green Doesn't Care. So I'm really excited to read it. It has a butch femme relationship, which I'm also really excited about. And then the second one is How to Excavate a Heart by Jake Maya Arlo. It's pitched as a Jewish rom-com set at Christmas time, but it is not a Christmas rom-com. And also there's a super cute, adorable dog on the cover, so I'm sold. But I follow the author on TikTok and they are so funny, and every time she pitches the book, it's like, why don't I have an arc? I need an arc now. I need to read it. So yeah, those are my 2 most anticipated releases for the second half of the year. I'm gonna try and read them as soon as they come out. However, I am like stuck on a backlog of like arcs that I'm trying to catch up on, and like released books that I'm trying to catch up on. So we'll see if I'm able to, but if I can, I would love that. It would make me very happy. Question 6 is biggest book disappointment of 2022 so far. And originally my answer was going to be Gallant by V.E. Schwab. That book was like a 2-star read for me. It was not good. However, I just had to DNF Wrath Goddess Sing by Maya Dean. Guys, it was a shitty book. There's no other way to say it. I was so excited for this book. It was pitched as a trans woman retelling of the Iliad, where Achilles is a trans woman. And it's written by a trans woman author, and it is so rare and it was being like, okay, so here's the thing. It was getting publicity, and it's really rare for a trans femme author to get a big publishing deal, you know, have their book promoted, and you know, like I walk into Indigo and it's on the new releases shelf, like right front and center. That's a rare thing. And I was really excited to read it. So I had an advanced reader copy and I was so disappointed. I DNF'd at about 35% of the way through. I wasn't going to. I was going to persevere and force myself to read it, and then I found out on Bookstagram that there is some really racist content in the book that I was not aware of. And that just sealed the coffin for me. That was like the final nail in the coffin. Immediate DNF. I don't want to read that. I don't want to interact with that. I was so disappointed because this book sounded like everything that I would love. Some of my other problems with the book, from what I personally read, because I didn't get to the part where the racism comes in, but just from what I read, Achilles is insufferable. She is millennial girl boss in the worst way. And the other trans women characters, they just weren't great characters. And queer characters don't have to be good necessarily, but they weren't even well written. The writing was incredibly pretentious. I don't know if any of you have read the Iliad, but in the Iliad there's a lot of names. Everyone has multiple different sets of names, etc. The author decided to do that. So everyone has multiple different versions of their name, which isn't incredibly accessible as a reader who really struggles with reading comprehension. This made the book a minefield for me. I was constantly going, who is this? Oh, right, it's that person. And it just felt incredibly unnecessary and very pretentious. Like, well, I've read the Iliad so much. And I mean, I've read the Iliad. It gave me very pretentious vibes, and I didn't like it. And this is a book that I was really excited for. And I'm also not a harsh reviewer. Like, most books for me, I'm gonna be honest, most books are between a 4 and 5 stars. I as long as I'm having a good time and there's nothing problematic, it's at least 3.5 to 4 stars. I'm an easy person to please. However, I struggled with the reading comprehension in this book really badly. And And not only that, but why was Achilles and King Agamemnon a thing? Why was Patroclus Achilles' cousin? None of that is accurate, especially for someone who the author was claimed to be really big on like Greek mythology, Greek stories. None of that is accurate. There were some really strange, uncomfortable sex scenes that just weirded me out because they didn't really make any sense for me. They were just kind of there. And I was like, oh, okay, this is happening. And then I didn't get this far, but I also read that there was a pregnancy arc and she's carrying Agamemnon's baby, which also just doesn't make any sense to me because... And then, as a pagan, see part of my altar there, someone who works with the goddess Aphrodite, works within the Greek pantheon, the way the gods were portrayed was incredibly disrespectful to me. I just couldn't get over the way that the gods' relationship with each other was changed. Gaia was completely erased. The whole mythology was changed, and I did not like it at all. And then, again, today I found out that there is a blatant racism in the book. Achilles is white, obviously, and she decides to purchase a black trans man slave. In 2022, this is happening in books. Completely unacceptable. Like, I don't even know what to say. Like, who let this get past? Were there no sensitivity readers? Like, the Iliad is an ancient story, and is obviously a product of its time. You don't need to include things like racism in your story. It's not a necessity. If anything, it's something you want to avoid. And the author is a white person, which makes it so much worse. I mean, again, who okayed this? I want to know. And then I also read that the characterization of the Hittite people was subtextualized as black people, and the Hittite people were not shown in a favorable light. They were shown in a really bad light, which is also not good. That's also really, really gross and dirty. Don't do that. Like, there was no need. There was absolutely no need. So yeah, that was a bit of a rant. I'm so disappointed because I was really excited. It's like I said, it's not often that you see an author by a who's trans femme, be publicized and promoted, and it have like hype around it, and for it to just be such a pile of garbage was just really disheartening. White authors, white readers, we need to do better. This kind of stuff cannot keep getting by in 2022. So my advice, if you've been considering reading this book, you thought, oh, this sounds really cool, don't pick it up, don't read it, don't support this author. Do yourself a favor and just find another book. There are so many other good pieces of trans literature that you could read that don't have this. There are books about being trans by Black and brown people of color that you could read. You don't need to be reading a book by a racist white author, is what I'm trying to get at. Leave this book alone. Question number 7, most surprising book of 2022 so far. And I'm not really sure what they meant by surprising. Did they mean you were surprised at how good it was? Were you surprised by the ending? And for me, I'm going to have to say Malice by Heather Walter. That book was such a surprise to me. And I knew that people said it was really good. But I was reading it and I was like, isn't this supposed to be a retelling of Sleeping Beauty? Where does the Sleeping Beauty part come in? This has nothing to do with Sleeping Beauty. And then I reached the ending and everything just clicked into place. And I put my book down and I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. So if you were thinking of reading Malice, do it. The sequel's out. You can read them both now. You don't have to wait. And that ending will get you. That ending of the first book will 100% get you. Question number 8 is the most beautiful book you've bought or received this year. And I'm assuming that's in terms of cover, not content. And for me, that is going to be She Gets the Girl by Rachel Lippincott and Allison Derrick. This freaking cover, it is so beautiful and so sapphic and so gay, so lesbian. I don't even know what to say. It's just so beautiful. It was, and the book was good. It was a 4-star read for me. But the cover is why this will never ever leave my shelf. Ever. Final question number 9. What books do you need to read before the end of 2022? And my answer is most of them. My goal for 2022 is to really cut down on my physical TBR. I have so many books that I bought last year and I still haven't read, like The Unspoken Name, which is like about a lesbian like orc assassin. Why haven't I read that yet? But like for real, there's so many books on here that I bought and I haven't read yet, and I just really need to cut down on how many books I have on my shelf that I haven't read. So nothing in particular, honestly, just all of them. Wish me luck. There are a lot of books. And yeah, that was the mid-year book freakout tag. I'm definitely freaking out about the amount of books I have to read. My ARC list is as long as my arm. My physical TBR is about the height of my body. Too many books. Well, too many books, not enough time. That's my problem. Not enough time. And also depression. Depression makes it hard to read sometimes. So to all my depressed bookworms out there who feel bad that they can't read books fast, or they go months without reading a lot of books or even reading at all, don't feel bad. It's not your fault. You'll get back to those books when you were able to. Signed, a depressed bookworm. But yeah, I will see you next month. Bye.